Hello and welcome to the Apostles' Desk. Today I'd like to speak to you on the subject of how to grow. Now, growing is a very important thing in life. When I was much younger, growing was very important to me. Unfortunately for me, growing stopped and I didn't quite grow as tall as most other people. So I had to let go of the idea of continuing to grow physically. But there are so many other areas of life that growth can continue to take place. And even though I now sit in my senior years, I have not stopped growing in the more important areas. And I'm sure that you want to keep growing in every area of life. Now, what are some of the main areas of life that we want to succeed in and that we can grow in? Well, there's three main areas which I often share on, and that's the area of our health, the area of wealth, and the area of relationships. Now, health is something that we need to work on all the time. We need to maintain our health, but we can also grow in our health. And I'm sure most people, if they were to be honest, would say, I'm not totally satisfied with the state of my health, and I wish I could grow healthier. When it comes to finances and wealth, of course, we can always have room for improvement there. I don't think there's anybody who's reached the place of being satisfied with their financial status. So I think we all would like to become a little bit more wealthy, and I believe God wants us to become more wealthy. And the third area, I think, is probably one of the most important of all, and that's the area of our relationships. We should be growing in relationships. Now, you may have come to the place where you've found your life partner and you're happily married, and you perhaps have a circle of friends, and perhaps you've reached a place of contentment. But you don't have to be limited to the small circle of influence that you have. You can become a greater influence in this world. You can accomplish so much more for the Lord, and in ministry and in so many areas if you had an increase or a growing number of people that you have good relationships with. So these are the three areas that we can grow in. And so whatever your desire is in these areas, these are what you need to work at. Now, the question is, how do we go about growing in these areas? Well, in the natural, growth is produced by planting seeds. If you want to have plants, if you want to have growth in the natural, you got to plant a seed, and that seed, when it germinates, begins to grow and grows into something large, which over time can grow bigger and bigger all the time. Unfortunately, many of the seeds that we plant, they don't grow into big trees. They grow to a point where they're harvested, and then we use them, we pick them, we eat them, and then there's nothing more. We've got to keep planting new seeds. And so I think if we want to continually be growing in our health and our wealth and our relationships, we should be continually planting new seeds. Because even though you may have reached the state of having a harvest, your harvest is soon going to die if you don't keep planting new seeds. So what are some of the seeds that we need to be planting in order to grow in these areas? Now, there are many different seeds, but I'd like to just mention a couple here. Firstly, you need to grow in knowledge. See, your mind is like a sponge that absorbs information all the time. And if you really want to grow in all of these areas of life, you should be looking at learning something new every day. Every day. When you come to the end of your day, you should sit down and meditate on what's happened during the day and ask yourself this question: what new thing did I learn today that I didn't know before? You'll be surprised what a difference it makes to your life when you can say, hey, I learned something new today. There's something new I want to try. There's something exciting that I never saw before. Now, you may have found something new in the Word, in the Scriptures. You may have got a revelation by the Spirit. You may have picked up some other knowledge from the world round about you. And even if you just become more observant as to what's happening round about you, you may see things you never saw before. If you go the same route to work every day, make an effort next time to look around you and see if you notice something on your trip that you never noticed before. You've now increased your knowledge of that road trip that you took. So try to increase your knowledge every day. Some of the seeds, probably the most powerful seeds that we can plant, is not only what goes into us, but what comes out of us. So the words that you speak, those are seeds. Excuse me. You see, if you are speaking positive words all the time, you are sowing positive seeds. If you're speaking negative words, I'm afraid you're speaking negative seeds. Now, this whole principle of the things that we confess and that we say is a huge subject. I'm not going to try and cover it in detail now. But what are you speaking every day? What kind of seeds are you sowing into your own life? What words are you speaking over yourself? Are you saying negative things like, well, I'm just useless, I'm pathetic. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever amount anything because, it's just my luck that everything just goes against me, You see, those are negative seeds that you're planting. How about planting some positive seeds? How about speaking positive things? How about saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this. With God's help, I'm going to do amazing things. With God's help, I'm going to improve the state of my health. With God's help, I'm going to become wealthy and accumulate much finance. With God's help, I'm going to make new friends. I'm going to make better relationships with the people that I already know. Your words are very important. The words that you speak to others, but especially the words that you speak over yourself. And then words without action actually are dead. James tells us without that faith without works is dead. And what he's saying is faith without corresponding action is dead. So our words may release faith, but without action added to them, they're just empty words spoken into the earth. So these are the seeds that you should be planting every day. You should be accumulating knowledge, learning new things. You should be changing the words that you speak. And you should be taking corresponding action that lines up with the harvest that you're wanting, with the things that you're desiring. Now, unfortunately, if you know a little bit about gardening, you'll know that it takes more than planting seeds to get a harvest, because there's something that grows without you planting it, and it's weeds. You can just water barren ground and weeds will come up. Somehow the seeds are in the ground. They're always there. And the moment you try to plant a good seed and begin to water it and to create the things you desire, a whole lot of things are going to come up that you don't want. They're going to try and block and choke the things that you want. So there are weeds that we must deal with. So it's not enough even just to plant your seeds. We've got to deal with all the negative things, all the weeds that come up. Now, what are some of the weeds in your life that are stopping you from reaching your desires and stopping you from growing? Well, one of them is what we do with our time. The things that sidetrack us and divert us and waste our time. Because you see, we only have so many hours a day. We can't pray for more. Lord knows I've tried. I've said, Lord, you've given me a big job to do. I have so much more. Can't you give me a couple of extra hours a day? And my request was denied. Fact of life, I'm afraid. You're not going to get any more time. You've got to make use of the time that you do have, you see. And then you need to look at bad relationships, especially when you're looking at developing good relationships. There are some relationships actually that shouldn't be there. There are some people in your life that quite honestly you would be better without. And sometimes it's just too much effort for us to end bad relationships. But bad relationships can bring bad influences in our lives, can even bring curses in our lives, can steal from us all the blessing that the Lord has for us. And then we've got to watch out what kind of knowledge we feed in. Now, knowledge in itself is innocent and pure, but we are exposed every day to an input that is based on a world system that's controlled by Satan and is designed to stir up all the fleshly, sinful desires in us. So be careful about how much worldly input you get in. And if you're going to get worldly input in, you're going to have to somehow modify that input. If you're going to sit and watch worldly entertainment, don't get caught up in it and become part of it, especially when it's sinful. Rather, learn something from it and benefit from it and convert it into something useful and helpful. Now, it's not easy to get rid of the weeds. You're going to need some help. You're going to need help from the Lord, and you may need help from other people. So don't think I can handle this one all on my own. You may become overwhelmed. But if you will work on this on a daily basis, each day, seeing what new seeds you can plant, dealing on a daily basis with all the negative things that block your growth, you should be steadily growing. You should be growing all the time in the things that matter, in the things that count. And you can serve the Lord and live what Jesus called the abundant life. Abundant in every way. Abundant in health. Abundant in wealth. And abundant in good relationships. I believe God wants you to grow. And I believe as you apply these principles, you're going to start seeing a steadily change in your life. And you're going to look back over the past while and you're going to say, wow, just in the last while, things have really begun to change for me. Things have begun to improve for me. I'm getting better at what I used to do. I'm learning new things. Life takes on a new excitement. Instead of coming to the place like people about my age where you say, well, I've worked all my life. It's time I retire and chill out and take it easy. People like that usually die young because they stop growing. Don't ever stop growing, folks. Keep growing in the Lord and keep reaching the awesome goals that the Lord has for us. I hope you were blessed by this, and I'll see you again in the next Apostles' Test.